I signed up to represent humanity. That's what the recruitment officer from the United Nations Cultural Exchange Initiative told me, anyway. You'll be an ambassador of Earth's emotional intelligence, she said. I thought that meant giving a few interviews, shaking a few tentacles, maybe explaining why we put pineapple on pizza. It did not mean becoming a controlled environment exhibit. The planet looked like someone had handed a physicist an unlimited budget and told them to flex. The cities curved upward instead of outward. Light didn't shine, it drifted. Buildings hummed at frequencies that made my bones feel politely observed. Everything was too smooth, too efficient, too aware. And then I saw the sign. Not in English, obviously. But the translation band around my wrist helpfully displayed. Human male, emotionally expressive visual mammal, active. Active. Like I was a volcano. A small hovering drone floated beside me and emitted a soft chime. My wristband translated again. Heart rate elevated. Subject responsive to environmental stimuli. Stop narrating my pulse, I muttered. That's when she arrived. She moved like gravity was optional. Tall, luminous skin that seemed to shift color depending on the angle of light. Long strands of silver-blue hair drifting behind her as if underwater. Her eyes were large, reflective, and entirely focused on me. Not in a casual way. In a studied way. You are the human, she said calmly. I am statistically likely to be, yes. The drone hummed louder. She stepped closer. Not touching. Just inside what I'd call personal space, if I still believed that concept existed here. I am doctoral candidate Seralith of Behavioral Intimacy Studies, she said. I have volunteered to observe you. Observe, I repeated. Cool. Love that word. She tilted her head slightly, analyzing my facial micro-expressions like they were rare minerals. You may look at me, she said very seriously. That is permitted. Touching is phase 4. I blinked. Once. Twice. The drone made a sharp, excited trill. Blinking frequency increasing. Possible attraction response. I have allergies. I snapped at the floating narc. Seralith did not react to my sarcasm. She simply straightened slightly, adjusting one of the thin metallic cuffs around her wrist. On my world, she explained, prolonged visual contact is equivalent to early-stage physical bonding. Your species is categorized as highly ocular in courtship patterns. Courtship? My voice cracked slightly. We just met. Yes, she agreed. You have already maintained direct eye contact for 2.8 seconds. The drone projected a small hologram between us. It displayed my face. Her face. A glowing line connecting our eyes like we were defusing a bomb. That is a lot? I asked cautiously. It is intimate. I immediately looked at the ceiling. The drone emitted a low disapproving tone. Sudden gaze aversion. Potential rejection signal. I'm not rejecting, I said quickly, eyes snapping back to hers. Another trill. Rapid correction. Heightened emotional investment. She nodded slowly, clearly cataloging this like a scientist discovering a new particle. For clarity, she continued, you are permitted to visually examine my physical form. However, tactile interaction requires sequential progression. Sequential progression. Yes. Phase 1, observation. Phase 2, acknowledgement. Phase 3, mutual intent declaration. Phase 4, contact. That's a lot of paperwork for holding hands. Her gaze softened slightly, though I might have imagined it. Your humor response is triggered under stress. Noted. The drone pulsed approvingly. I became intensely aware of the fact that she was standing very close. Close enough that I could see subtle patterns beneath her skin, faint luminous lines tracing along her collarbone. Her hair drifted around her shoulders like living silk. You are looking, she observed. I was given permission. Yes. Her posture shifted. It wasn't seductive. It was posed. Deliberate. Controlled. Like she was presenting a sculpture. For data consistency, she added. Oh, good. I was worried this was personal. It is not. That stung more than I expected. I forced myself to relax. She was studying me. This was academic. I was humanity's representative. I could handle being looked at. Humans interpret visual fixation as attraction, she continued. Is that accurate? Sometimes, I said. Sometimes it means we're trying to remember where we've seen someone before. Or we zone out. She leaned slightly closer. And now? The drone's hum increased in pitch. Heart rate spiking. Subject engaged. I swallowed. Now I'm trying not to accidentally propose marriage by blinking wrong. She paused. That is wise. We stood there in mutual silence, eyes locked, while my pulse performed Olympic-level gymnastics. I tried to keep my breathing steady. Inhale. Exhale. Do not overthink. Her hair drifted again, catching the ambient light. It was mesmerizing. It's impressive, I said before my brain could install a filter. Your hair, I mean. It's incredible. Silence. The drone froze mid-air. Saralitha's eyes widened slightly. You have commented on my cranial filaments. I have complimented them, I corrected, because I am apparently incapable of shutting up. Her voice dropped half a tone. That structure is a sacred reproductive antenna cluster. I stopped breathing. The drone exploded into sound. Phase 2 triggered. Subject advanced via filament acknowledgement. Advanced? I croaked. Saralith straightened fully now, posture rigid. You have entered acknowledgement phase. I said it was nice. Yes. The drone projected a notification into the air. Family unit notified of ritual progression. I'm sorry, what? She looked at me with an expression that might have been curiosity. Or anticipation. You will need to maintain composure, she said calmly. My immediate genetic contributors will arrive shortly to observe the staring ritual. The what ritual? You have demonstrated clear attraction through filament admiration. It would be culturally inappropriate not to proceed. I glanced around the gleaming alien plaza, suddenly very aware that several distant figures had turned in our direction. I signed up to represent humanity, I muttered weakly. She stepped just a fraction closer, luminous eyes locked onto mine again. You are representing it very effectively, she said. The drone chimed triumphantly. Sustained eye contact detected. Escalation imminent. The first thing I learned about the staring ritual was that there was no running from it. The second thing I learned was that alien families travel fast. One moment it was just me, Saralith, and the overenthusiastic drone documenting my every micro-expression. The next, the air around us shimmered, and 6 tall, luminous figures phased into existence in a semicircle behind her like a very judgmental constellation. The drone chimed brightly. Genetic contributors present. Observation protocol active. I would like to withdraw my compliment, I whispered. Saralith didn't look away from me. Withdrawal after filament acknowledgement signals instability. Of course it does. Her family was impressive. Similar silver-blue cranial filaments, similar poised posture, but each carried themselves with a distinct authority. One older female, her cranial strands woven into intricate loops, stepped slightly forward. Her gaze was so intense I felt like my soul was being audited. Is this the human? The older one asked. Yes, primary mother, Saralith replied calmly. He progressed to phase 2 via spontaneous admiration. I tried to offer a polite wave. Hi. Big fan of your genetics. The drone made a noise that sounded suspiciously like suppressed laughter. Sarcasm response detected. Elevated stress markers. Primary mother circled me slowly. Not touching. Just observing. He blinks frequently, she noted. He claims allergies, Saralith said. I did not claim allergies. I panicked about blinking and invented allergies. There is a difference. A smaller figure, possibly a sibling, leaned in from my left side. His pupils are dilated. I'm surrounded, I protested. Anyone's pupils would dilate. Excitement defense pattern, the drone translated helpfully. Primary mother stopped directly in front of me, close enough that I could see faint geometric patterns beneath her luminous skin. Human, she said, voice calm but layered with something powerful. Do you understand that visual fixation on cranial filaments signals reproductive admiration? I understand that now, I said carefully. Where I'm from, complimenting someone's hair usually just means you appreciate their stylist. A murmur rippled through the family. He references external grooming assistants, one sibling whispered. That implies social bonding structures, another added. Saralith remained steady, eyes still locked onto mine. He has maintained eye contact despite escalating social pressure, she said softly. That suggests sincerity. I hadn't broken eye contact because I was terrified that looking away would start an interstellar war. Primary mother leaned slightly closer. The staring ritual must now proceed. What does that involve? I asked. Saralith answered before anyone else could. You will stand at a culturally respectful distance. You will maintain visual contact with me for a sustained interval. You will regulate breathing. You will not exhibit predatory dilation patterns. I don't know how to control my pupils. Primary mother tilted her head. Then you will demonstrate discipline and other physiological metrics. The drone projected a holographic interface between us. My heart rate pulsed in glowing red numbers. Elevated but stable. Emotional investment confirmed. This is humiliating, I muttered. It is intimate, Saralith corrected gently. That word again. Intimate. The family formed a wider circle, giving us space but not privacy. I suddenly felt like I was about to compete in the galaxy's most uncomfortable Olympic sport. Saralith stepped back exactly one measured pace. This distance is appropriate for Phase 2 escalation. Of course it is. She straightened, shoulders relaxed, filaments drifting gracefully behind her. She wasn't posing dramatically now. This felt different. Less clinical. Focus on my eyes, she instructed softly. I have been focusing on your eyes. That's the problem. A faint flicker crossed her expression. Amusement? Control your breathing. Inhale. Exhale. The drone counted. 1 second. 2 seconds. 3. A loud chime erupted overhead. Observation interval exceeding casual threshold. A new presence materialized in a shimmer of light, sleek, metallic, and unmistakably bureaucratic. 3 taller figures appeared, wearing darker, more angular garments. Their posture radiated authority. The drone lowered slightly. Galactic Ethics Board notified of accelerated intimacy progression. You have got to be kidding me, I breathed. One of the new arrivals spoke in a crisp tone. Doctoral candidate Saralith, your subject has exceeded standard ocular engagement duration. He is not my subject, she said quickly. He is a voluntary participant. Participant exhibiting accelerated bonding behavior. That was an accident, I blurted. I liked her hair. That's it. The ethics board member turned their luminous gaze toward me. I felt like a lab rat who'd accidentally discovered nuclear fission. Human, the official said. Are you aware that 3 consecutive seconds of unwavering visual fixation constitutes a pre-phase 3 signal? No one gave me a manual, I shot back. Primary mother stepped forward slightly. He has demonstrated restraint. No tactile attempts have occurred. That's because I was told touching is phase 4, I said. And I respect phases. There was a pause. The drone adjusted its hovering position, recalibrating data streams. Respect for phased consent acknowledged. The ethics board members exchanged a subtle glance. Saralith's voice softened just a fraction. He has not attempted proximity reduction. He has complied with distance parameters. His elevated pulse appears linked to social pressure, not predatory intent. Predatory intent? I barely had grocery shopping intent. The ethics board member faced me again. Why did you maintain visual contact beyond safe interval? I swallowed. Because she's beautiful. Because I didn't want to insult her. Because I was curious. Because I didn't want to look weak in front of her family. Instead, what came out was, "On my world, looking at someone while they're speaking means you're listening." I didn't want her to think I wasn't. Silence fell over the plaza. Even the drone dimmed its glow. Primary Mother studied me carefully. Saralitha's expression shifted, subtle, but unmistakable. Less analytical. More affected. "He associates gaze with attention," she murmured. "Not possession." The ethics board member straightened. "Intent requires evaluation." "I have intent," I said quickly. "Good intent. Extremely non-threatening intent." Saralith stepped half a pace closer, not enough to touch, but enough that the distance between us felt charged. "He advanced accidentally," she said. "But he did not exploit the progression." Her filaments shimmered faintly in the ambient light. "And," she added quietly, "I did not expect to experience reciprocal curiosity." The drone's lights flickered in surprise. Reciprocal emotional markers detected. I blinked, carefully this time. "Wait," I said softly. "Reciprocal?" Her eyes held mine steadily. "Yes." The ethics board members seemed to recalculate something silently between them. "Phase 3 authorization remains under review," the official announced. "However, no violation has occurred." The family relaxed slightly. I exhaled for what felt like the first time in an hour. Saralith didn't move away. She didn't pose. She didn't narrate. She simply looked at me. Not like data. Like a question. And for the first time since arriving on this hyper-advanced planet, I realized something dangerous. This wasn't just a thesis anymore. And I wasn't just an exhibit. The drone hummed softly, projecting a final line into the air. Phase 3 consideration pending. Emotional variables increasing. The ethics board chamber looked like someone had taken a cathedral, removed religion, and replaced it with pure judgment. The walls curved upward into translucent arches that pulsed faintly with ambient light. Symbols drifted across the surfaces. Legal codes, cultural safeguards, biometric diagrams. At the center of it all stood a circular platform. Me. The drone hovered faithfully at shoulder height, projecting my vital signs into the air like I was a walking confession. Elevated cortisol. Stabilizing respiration. Subject attempting composure. "I am composed," I muttered. Statement contradicts data. Across from me stood 3 members of the Galactic Ethics Board, their darker garments absorbing the light around them. Behind them, elevated slightly, stood Saralith and her family. Not touching. Not interfering. Just watching. It would have been easier if she looked detached. She didn't. The Central Board member spoke first. "Human participant. You are under review for accelerated intimacy escalation." "I did not escalate anything," I said. I stood still and made eye contact. "Precisely." A series of holographic clips appeared in the air, me looking at Saralith, the compliment about her hair, the sustained 3-second gaze. Slowed down. Analyzed. Annotated with glowing indicators. "This is surreal," I whispered. "You exceeded culturally neutral ocular duration." The board member continued. "You triggered Phase 2 acknowledgement without prior ritual preparation." I didn't know there was ritual preparation. No one handed me a pamphlet. The drone projected a small disclaimer. Orientation materials were provided in digital format. "I thought that was a privacy policy." A faint ripple moved through the chamber. Not quite laughter, but something close. The board members shifted their attention to Saralith. "Doctoral candidate. You selected this human for study." "Yes." "Did you anticipate Phase 2 progression within the initial observation window?" "No," she admitted. "Then why did it occur?" Her filaments shimmered slightly. A subtle shift in posture. If I didn't know better, I'd say she was nervous. "He is visually expressive," she said. "But not in a predatory pattern. His gaze fluctuates with emotional response rather than dominance assertion. I'm right here, I muttered. Acknowledged, the drone chimed. The board member turned back to me. Human. Why did you comment on her cranial filaments? Because they're impressive, I said honestly. Because they caught the light. Because I thought it would be polite. Polite. The board member repeated, as if testing the concept. On Earth, I continued, compliments are how we signal appreciation without overstepping. We look. We say something nice. We wait. That's it. You waited. Another board member observed. Yes. Because she said touching is phase 4. And I don't skip phases. There was a long pause. Saralitha's gaze didn't leave mine. The central board member stepped slightly closer. You maintained visual contact for 3 seconds under escalating social pressure. Why? My mouth opened automatically to produce sarcasm. Nothing came out. Because the real answer wasn't funny. I didn't want her to think I was afraid of her, I said quietly. Or disrespecting her. Where I'm from, looking away when someone's being serious can mean you don't care. Silence filled the chamber. Even the ambient glow seemed to dim. The drone recalibrated. Emotional authenticity spike detected. Saralith took one measured step forward, not enough to violate protocol, but enough to change the energy in the room. He associates gaze with attention, she said softly. With listening. Yes, I said. Exactly. The board member studied me carefully. Humans equate eye contact with trust? Usually. Not staring someone down. Not being creepy. Just staying present. Yet your pulse increased significantly. Because her entire family was circling me like I was about to be auctioned. A subtle flicker of amusement moved through the chamber. Primary mother's posture relaxed slightly. The board member adjusted the holographic display. Your biometric readings show heightened arousal markers during filament acknowledgement. I panicked, I said immediately. She told me it was sacred reproductive antenna. That's a lot of pressure for a compliment. The drone emitted a soft tone. Stress-linked arousal differentiation confirmed. Saralitha's filaments shimmered brighter for a moment. He did not reduce distance, she added. He did not attempt unauthorized contact. He complied with phase boundaries. Because she explained them. I said. Consent is important to us. Another silence. A different kind this time. The board member tilted their head. Define consent within your species' bonding framework. I swallowed. Mutual agreement. Clear communication. No assumptions. No pressure. And yet you progressed to phase 2 unintentionally. Yes. But I stopped there. I didn't try to game the system. The drone hummed thoughtfully. Self-restraint emphasized. Saralith stepped forward again, this time her voice softer, less academic. He demonstrated inhibition even when uncertain of consequences. She said. That suggests internalized ethical coding. I blinked. Are you defending me? She held my gaze. Yes. That single word did something to my chest I wasn't prepared for. The board member observed the exchange carefully. Doctoral candidate. Your biometric readings indicate reciprocal escalation. Her filaments flickered. I am aware. Clarify. She hesitated only a fraction of a second. I did not anticipate personal emotional engagement. Yet I experienced increased curiosity beyond research parameters. Curiosity. That was her version of butterflies. The drone projected a new metric. Reciprocal emotional alignment probability, rising. The board members conferred silently, luminous patterns flashing faintly across their garments. Finally, the central member addressed us both. Human participant has demonstrated restraint. Intent appears non-exploitative. Ocular escalation occurred through cultural misalignment rather than manipulation. I exhaled slowly. However, the member continued. Phase 3 requires mutual intent declaration. I froze. Saralitha's eyes widened slightly. Declaration? I repeated. Yes. Verbal acknowledgement of emotional direction prior to any progression toward Phase 4. My throat went dry. Phase 4. Contact. The entire chamber seemed to lean forward, waiting. The board member looked directly at me. Human. Do you intend further escalation? I looked at Sarilith. Really looked. Not at her filaments. Not at the glowing patterns under her skin. At her expression. She wasn't posing now. She wasn't analyzing. She was waiting. And maybe, just maybe, hoping. I don't know your rituals perfectly, I said slowly. But I know I don't want to disrespect them. And I know I'm not here to treat her like a curiosity. I hesitated. But I am curious, I admitted. About her. Not just as a study partner. As her. The drone's hum deepened. Emotional clarity increasing. The board member turned to Sarilith. Doctoral candidate. Do you reciprocate potential escalation? She didn't break eye contact with me. Yes, she said. No hesitation this time. Just certainty. A faint pulse of light moved through the chamber walls. Phase 3 provisional authorization granted. I blinked carefully. So we passed? The board member inclined their head. Phase 4 remains theoretical. Physical contact is now permissible only under declared mutual consent conditions. I glanced at Sarilith. Her filaments shimmered softly. Phase 4. I whispered. She stepped closer, not touching, just within that charged boundary. It is not what you assume, she said quietly. That's reassuring, I replied, though my pulse immediately spiked again. The drone projected one final line above us. Phase 3 complete. Emotional variables stabilized. Awaiting voluntary progression. For the first time since arriving on this planet, I didn't feel like an exhibit. I felt like a participant. And whatever Phase 4 actually meant, it wasn't about surviving grad school politics anymore. It was about whether I was brave enough to take the next step without a drone telling me how. The chamber eventually emptied, though it didn't feel like it at first. Her family phased out in dignified silence. The ethics board dissolved into streaks of dim light. The massive arches of the hall softened, their glow lowering to something closer to privacy than scrutiny. Only the drone remained. Hovering. Watching. Waiting. Sarilith turned slightly toward it. Suspend active broadcast. The drone paused. Authorization requires mutual consent. She looked at me. I stared at the floating mechanical trader. Yes. Suspend broadcast. The drone emitted a reluctant tone and dimmed, drifting upward until it hovered near the ceiling like a quiet moon. My vitals still glowed faintly on my wristband, but no holographic charts floated between us anymore. For the first time since I'd landed on this planet, there was silence. Not observational silence. Not evaluative silence. Just quiet. Sarilith stepped closer. Not dramatically. Not ceremonially. Just one simple step. This is irregular, she said softly. What part? The absence of supervision. I vote we keep it, I replied. Her filaments shimmered faintly, almost like a ripple passing through silver water. I was starting to recognize that as her version of emotional fluctuation. You are no longer categorized as an exhibit, she said. That's the nicest thing anyone said to me all day. You are categorized as a voluntary participant in bonded escalation. I winced. You really know how to make a guy feel special. Her head tilted slightly. Humor deflection again. Habit. She moved another half-step closer. Close enough now that the ambient warmth from her skin brushed against mine without contact. My heart rate ticked upward. I could feel it in my throat. I miscalculated, she admitted quietly. About what? You. That wasn't what I expected. I selected you because humans are visually expressive, she continued. Your species exhibits measurable emotional transparency through facial musculature and ocular dilation. I believed you would provide clean data. Clean data, I repeated. Romantic. Her eyes didn't waver. I did not anticipate personal involvement. There it was again. Curiosity. Reciprocal escalation. All the sterile academic phrases that were clearly struggling to describe something much simpler. You're saying you didn't expect to like me? I translated. A small pause. Yes. My pulse spiked again. The drone flickered faintly above us, tempted to wake up, but remained dim. And now? I asked. Now I am uncertain whether Phase 4 should be classified as research. The way she said it, steady, precise, somehow made it more intense. I swallowed. Earlier you said Phase 4 isn't what I assume. Yes. I braced myself. Phase 4 is not merely physical contact, she explained. On my world, touch without declared emotional alignment is biologically insignificant. Insignificant? Our species transmits minimal sensory data through casual contact. Emotional resonance amplifies sensation. I blinked. So holding hands is pointless unless we mean it? Yes. That's actually kind of beautiful. Her filaments shimmered again. Before Phase 4, she continued, there must be clear verbal acknowledgement. Of? She stepped closer still. Now we were inches apart. No drone. No family. No ethics board. Intent. The words settled between us. I felt ridiculous and completely serious at the same time. You want a declaration? I said. Yes. Like a speech? A truthful statement. My mouth went dry. This was worse than the ethics hearing. At least there I could hide behind sarcasm. Now there was just her. Looking at me not like a subject. Not like a case study. Like someone waiting to see if I would step forward. You said earlier that I associate eye contact with attention. I began slowly. Yes. That's true. But it's more than that. Where I'm from, when you look at someone and you don't look away, you're saying they matter. That you're not distracted. That you're choosing them in that moment. Her breathing shifted slightly. Subtle, but there. I thought you were flirting with me at first, I admitted. When you said I could look. I was not, she said automatically. I know. I figured that out when your family showed up. A faint flicker of amusement crossed her expression. But somewhere between being accused of weaponized eye contact and surviving your grandmother's soul scan, I stopped feeling like an exhibit. She held perfectly still. And started feeling like I wanted to know you. I finished. Silence. Not heavy. Just real. I like how calm you are, I continued. Even when everything's spiraling. I like that you care about consent so much you built phases around it. I like that you defended me in front of your ethics board. Her filaments brightened, luminous strands catching the soft chamber light. You defended yourself, she said quietly. Yeah. But you chose to stand with me. That seemed to land somewhere deeper than the rest. So yes, I said, voice steadier now. I intend escalation. Not because of biology. Not because your hair accidentally triggered an alien ritual. But because I want to see where this goes. The drone's dim light pulsed faintly, like it was resisting the urge to document. Sarilith inhaled slowly. I acknowledge mutual intent, she said. Her voice wasn't clinical anymore. It was almost fragile. Phase 4. We both glanced down instinctively at the space between our hands. So, I said lightly, because if I didn't I might combust. How does this work? Fireworks? Psychic overload? Do I need protective gloves? You will likely experience amplified sensory feedback, she replied. Do not withdraw abruptly. That's comforting. She lifted her hand slowly, gracefully, giving me plenty of time to retreat if I wanted to. I didn't. I raised mine to meet hers. We paused just before contact. This is voluntary, she said. Yes. This is mutual. Yes. Our fingers touched. Nothing exploded. No alarms blared. No ethics board materialized from the ceiling. Instead, warmth. Not surface warmth. Not temperature. Something deeper. Like my pulse had found an echo. Her breath caught softly. My own lungs forgot their job for a second. The contact wasn't electric. It was steady. Grounding. Her filaments flared faintly, luminous strands brightening in slow waves. Sensory amplification confirmed. She whispered. I feel it, I said. Our hands remained together. Not gripping. Not possessive. Just connected. For a long moment, the universe felt very small and very quiet. And then, the drone snapped back to full brightness. Public broadcast resuming. Phase 4 achieved. Cross-species study success rate, unprecedented. I groaned. You said it was suspended. Temporary suspension. The drone corrected cheerfully. The chamber walls lit up as distant cheers echoed through the structure. Holographic messages flickered across the arches. Historic bonding milestone. Human participant exceeds expectation metrics. Primary mother approval rating, elevated. You broadcast this? I asked, horrified. Sarilith didn't let go of my hand. I may have allowed passive academic observation, she admitted. Passive? The drone projected a live feed angle of us holding hands, complete with glowing biometric overlays. I sighed. I am never living this down on Earth. She looked at me, filaments shimmering with unmistakable warmth now. Phase 5 is private, she said softly. There's a Phase 5? Yes. What's that? She stepped closer, still holding my hand, voice lowering just enough that even the drone struggled to pick it up. Exploration without audience. I grinned despite myself. Lead the way, Doctor. She tilted her head. Sarilith, she corrected. And this time, when we stepped forward together, it wasn't as exhibit and observer. It was as two participants. Voluntary. Mutual. And very, very aware that sometimes the bravest thing a human can do in an alien world is wait for the right phase before touching.